Romance and baseball. What's the connection? Bear with me because you're going to learn something really interesting. Actually, they're both very similar to learning a foreign language. For instance, with romance, when do you start getting that feeling of being attracted to someone? It takes a lot of nuances because you want to read the other signals of the person to whom you're attracted. You use your eyes, you use your ears, you touch. When does romance begin? I'm studying European Portuguese. It's very difficult. I did not expect it to be this way. My French is pretty good, my Spanish is pretty good, my Italian is okay, but this European Portuguese is difficult. My teacher, who teaches online, Liz Sharma, uses film clips and music. There is this popular film called Love Actually with Colin Firth and Lúcia Moniz. There is a scenario where she is his housekeeper. You start seeing them being attracted to each other because they're a little uncomfortable. They bump into each other. Or they accidentally touch. The scene that I think is telling about when the romance absolutely ignites is when he's an author. He's writing a book. He's typewriting it. He's outside by the lake. There's a dock there. She picks up his coffee cup, and evidently there are hundreds of pages, typewritten pages of his book. When she picks up the cup, all the pages fly into the lake. It's a great scene. It's really funny. She rushes off, and of course, she speaks Portuguese. He, of course, is English. He understands it. She runs out there, and she keeps saying, "Desculpa, desculpa." And he in his English says, "Don't bother. They're just piddling. They're just, don't bother." She literally takes off her dress, and she just has her undergarments on. And this is when romance ignites. She jumps into the water. He says, "Oh my God, I have to follow her." He jumps into the water and it's freezing. The point is the film actually slows down and shows her taking off her dress. This is so she can jump in the water without her clothes on, just her undergarments. And you can tell that this is when it ignites. For us, when we are feeling romantic with someone for whom you're attracted, pay attention to these little nuances. Read into the signals and then express your desires, express your feelings, because this is really what's going to ignite. It's not so much that scene where she's taking off her dress, but I can promise you Colin Firth is thinking there's a lot more to my feelings than just her being a housekeeper. How in the world does this relate to baseball? You have to watch this clip on the batters accidentally, nonetheless, striking the catchers in the head after they're batting. After they swing their bat, their swing goes full force around a 360, which they shouldn't be doing, and it knocking out the catchers. Their masks come off, they fall off. The point is that the batters are not paying attention to their swing and how that 360 swing is hurting the catcher. Some of them have caught on, and they use empathy, they use compassion, and they will stop because they can't go anywhere. Perhaps the ball is a foul ball or it's a strike. Nonetheless, they have time to stop and help the catcher. Now, I understand this is YouTube. I like to watch the highlights. You should too. They're the best. So YouTube is not showing the full sequence. Did the batter stop and help the catcher? Obviously, the umpire's there and he helped him, but goodness gracious, there are some serious knockouts on this, and that's part of why I see romance and I see baseball crisscrossing with the nuances. It's a language, and learning a foreign language. The European Portuguese, yes, it's difficult, but being able to learn with the film and with music certainly helps my understanding, doesn't help my pronunciation. But with romance, it's the same thing. When you start to learn someone else's nuances, the way they talk, the way they look at you, their body movements, you can tell if that spark has been ignited. So go with it. Go for it. Baseball, I realize, when you're watching this clip of how many times these poor catchers are getting their masks knocked off, and they're being knocked off in their position also. I know that there are some batters who stopped and helped them. They had compassion and they had sympathy. With Kundalini Yoga, you can also practice how to be more caring and compassionate. This particular Kriya, which I have asked people to practice for 40 days because that's how you change a habit. Many of us think that prosperity is about money, but prosperity is really about having a vocation that you love, a career that you love. Certainly having enough money in the bank helps. However, prosperity is also about your health. Prosperity is also about intrinsic relationships, really deep, caring friends. At the end of Harprakash's virtual class, which is free, she also teaches protection. The reason we want protection is because there's a lot of nonsense going on out there. My God, these catchers should practice this Kriya because they need to be protected, right? Really, Kundalini Yoga, the Kriyas that I put online, can help you in so many facets of your life. So at the end of this Kriya, practice protection because it also helps you to say the right words. That's a very important step toward protecting yourself. Say the right words. Be compassionate. Be loving. Be sensitive. Lastly, for wine, I know many of you go into a wine store and you're overwhelmed with your choices. What I'm going to focus on from now through summer is wines that are worth finding and buying and drinking, because I'm seeing a trend with Americans of drinking really high fruity wines that are very high in sugar. If you're wondering why you feel like smut the next day, it's because you're drinking really the wrong wines. There are two wines I've included. I just want to talk about the one from Spain. I'm going to include one from Spain, from Ponce, then one from South Africa, from the Robertson family, for the Ratz family. The reason you want to use a good wine store is because they 99% of the time have good wine staff who will not sell you swill or specials. They're going to guide you toward wines that fit your budget, match your palate, and will open your world to much better wines than these wines that are stacked in 25 cases. The Ponce wine that I am in the podcast details, the Clos Lejeune, it's very elegant. It's very delicate. It's fine by itself, but it's getting to be barbecue season. It's great with barbecue. Even if you're a vegetarian like me, that means you can do portobello mushrooms. There's lots of ways to pair this wine. It's so delicious. You can have it by itself. It can certainly be an aperitif and then move into your main meal. It definitely will like mushrooms. It could be used with fish because it is delicate enough, but you would want a fish, for instance, maybe something like grouper or something like trout. To wrap this up, romance and baseball have a lot in common. You need to be sensitive, compassionate. You need to watch for signs. Really, the clip is really funny with Colin Firth and Lúcia Moniz, because you can see at the very beginning they're uncomfortable when they accidentally touch. And then here's the one of the middle scenes where she's in her undergarments swimming in this lake to save his book. It's so funny. And it's a good way to learn Portuguese. Oh, by the way, there is some cussing in the translation, which I don't understand because the Portuguese don't cuss. Europeans as a whole, they don't have potty mouths like us Americans, like me. I swear like a sailor. I also want to mention that phrase, pardon my French, when someone cusses, that's ridiculous. That's BS. The French don't cuss. They don't cuss. They don't use our F word. No, not at all. Some Moroccans who came over and some people from the Arabic countries, they swear like camels. Get off that rant, Valerie. Baseball, watch this clip because I do think it's important to see how the batter, it looks like in the clips that they're not paying attention, but I think YouTube just cut it off to make us pay attention to how you need to pay attention. And you need to be sensitive and aware and use your sixth sense to make sure you're not knocking people off their feet and knocking their mask off. Lastly, Kundalini Yoga. This Kriya is perfect for the next 40 days for the rest of your life, because who doesn't want prosperity in their life, good relationships, good friendships, a little more money that never hurts. And that protection Kriya is really cool too. Lastly, choose a good wine shop, because they will have good wines and really good staff who help you. To close this out, I'm Valerie Hale. I do this podcast once a week to help people improve their mindset, their thinking process. Remember, thoughts become things, so choose the good ones. I also teach an online class to help people manage their fear and anxiety, making business presentations, your elevator pitch, everyday speaking. It's very simple. One class, one and done. Merci, au revoir.